Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we're going deep into a topic that's incredibly tough but often kind of hidden from view. The real hook here, the emotional core, is realizing that sometimes the biggest act of love means you have to save yourself first.
It's a huge paradox, isn't it?
Mhm.
For millions of people, we're sort of taught that loving someone means giving everything, but the truth, the hard-won truth she talks about, is that caregiver self-care. It's not selfish, it's actually about survival, non-negotiable.
And that message, that really potent message, is right at the heart of our source material today. We're digging into the brand new book, The Unexpected Journey, Finding Strength, Hope, and Yourself on the Caregiving Path.
Which is written, of course, by Emma Heming Willis. She shares these incredibly personal, sometimes really agonizing details about being a care partner after her husband, the global star Bruce Willis, was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, FTD.
And what's really interesting is the book itself. It's not just, a celebrity memoir. It's this clever hybrid, part really raw emotional story and part practical guidebook. So our mission today is to pull out the most critical stuff from this manifesto, really, to give you a kind of roadmap for what she calls this vital invisible job.
Hmm.
Now, before we really get into it, if you find these kinds of deep dives valuable, please take a second and hit that subscribe button. We get into the specifics from the book you won't really hear anywhere else. Your support, liking, subscribing, even using the Amazon link in the description for the book, it genuinely helps us keep making these shows.
And it's a huge difference.
Okay, so let's unpack this main idea. What's the number one thing she insists every caregiver has to accept, like right now?
It's really urgent, the way she puts it. The caregiver has to prioritize their own well-being because fundamentally, the whole system, the whole care situation just falls apart if the main caregiver burns out or breaks down.
Right.
You simply cannot, as the saying goes, pour from an empty cup, especially when the journey, doesn't have a clear endpoint.
That idea that self-care is literally life or death, that's massive. But, there are lots of caregiving books out there. What makes The Unexpected Journey different? I kind of see three things that really lift it up.
Yeah. The way she builds her case gives it real power.
First, there's that hybrid methodology we mentioned. It's rooted in her story. She literally starts with Bruce, a love story. So you're invested, you feel the emotional weight before she gets into the practical stuff. That vulnerability makes the advice feel earned.
Totally agree. And then she supports that personal story with what she calls her village. That's the second key thing.
Ah, right.
She deliberately outlines the experts she brought in, the people she leaned on, like neurologist Dr. Bruce Miller, dementia specialists like Teepa Snow, even mentors like Patty Davis. She structures the book around their input so it's got professional weight alongside her own experience.
That blend is powerful. And the third piece, narrative control. That might be the most defining part, actually. This book feels like her consciously taking back the story. Taking it back from the tabloids, the headlines, all the noise around a public figure like Bruce Willis.
Exactly right. She turns this incredibly vulnerable position into one of advocacy. By being so brutally honest, she's basically turning private pain into something useful for other people going through this.
Taking control of the narrative, that's huge. And to do that effectively, she can't really sugarcoat the reality, can she? So what are some of those stark facts, those really shocking details she uses to ground this whole thing?
Well, you have to start with a statistic that just hits you right away. It completely backs up her main point. A shocking 30%, 0% of dementia caregivers die before the persons they're caring for.
Wow, 30%.
Yeah. And their mortality rate, it's 63% higher than people their own age who aren't caregivers. When you hear that, suddenly self-care isn't just a nice idea, it's essential, like truly essential for survival.
That number is just devastating, and it totally reframes the whole conversation. But then there are the details about the system itself failing, like the diagnosis moment. She talks about getting this life-altering FTD diagnosis for Bruce Willis, a global superstar, and the doctor hands her a single pamphlet.
Yeah, a flimsy pamphlet, and basically says, check back in a few months.
Unbelievable. It perfectly shows how caregivers are often just left completely stranded right at the start.
Which is why this book feels so necessary. She's trying to fill that gap. Like, she takes time to explain really important medical stuff. Things like anosognosia.
Okay, what's that exactly?
It's a condition often seen in dementia where the person's brain is physically unable to recognize that it's sick. It can't process the illness.
Ah, okay. So that explains why Someone like Bruce Willis or, many others with dementia might not seem worried or aware that they're declining. It's not denial like we usually think of it.
Exactly. It's not psychological denial. It's a physical symptom of the brain damage itself. Understanding that helps caregivers, maybe helps them separate the person from the disease, feel less frustration or anger, perhaps.
That makes so much sense. And amidst all this heavy medical reality, there are these little human moments too, right? Like the acronym her daughters came up with.
Oh, yeah, that's incredibly poignant. Her young daughters, Mabel and Evelyn, they found the name frontotemporal dementia scary and hard to remember. So they made up their own acronym for FTD. Fantastic turtles dancing.
Fantastic turtles dancing. Wow.
Yeah.
It's sweet, but also just heartbreakingly illustrates how a family tries to cope to make something terrifying a little scary.
It really does.
And that kind of family adaptation, making really tough choices, it leads us straight into what's probably the most controversial point in the book, the second home solution. This is where things get really complex emotionally, ethically, practically.
Yeah, this is the big one. The decision Emma Heming Willis made to move Bruce into a separate dedicated home nearby, with full-time, specialized care staff, it definitely sparks debate, and she knows it. She tackles it head-on in the book.
Okay, let's try to unpack both sides fairly. Like she presents it. What's the argument for doing this? How does she frame it?
She films it as, essentially, the ultimate act of pragmatic love. It wasn't about abandoning him. It was about getting him the specific, round-the-clock care that one person, even a loving spouse, often just can't provide long-term for advanced FTD. And a huge part of it was protecting their young daughters.
Right, shielding them from the daily trauma of seeing the disease progress, giving them more stable home environment.
Exactly. It's about the well-being of the entire family unit. But then, of course, there's the powerful argument against this. And it centers squarely on privilege. The privilege problem.
Because realistically, this solution requires immense wealth, right? Maintaining 2 households, specialized staff, it's just not an option for the vast majority of caregivers.
Absolutely not. It's completely unrelatable financially for most people. So the criticism is, does this set an impossible, maybe even guilt-inducing standard? Like, if you can't do this, are you failing?
And does it also challenge that traditional idea of in sickness and in health? The vow to stay together physically until the end?
That's part of the debate, too. But, importantly, she addresses this directly. She acknowledges her privilege, explicitly. She says she understands this isn't feasible for everyone, but she uses her choice, this controversial choice, partly to destigmatize all the incredibly hard decisions caregivers have to make when home care just isn't working anymore, for whatever reason.
So she's kind of taking the heat, maybe, so others feel less judged for making tough calls based on their own limits and resources.
That seems to be the intention. It's about acknowledging that sometimes love means recognizing limitations, especially when facing such overwhelming physical and logistical demands.
Okay, that reframing is helpful. Moving beyond just the finances to the core dilemma of duty versus sustainability. So, stepping back a bit from the specifics of their story, what are some of the deeper psychological themes a reader will find in this roadmap?
Oh, it's rich with them. One really crucial concept she brings in, crediting Dr. Pauline Boss, is ambiguous loss.
Ambiguous loss, okay.
She describes it as this incredibly confusing grief. It's loving someone who is both here and gone. That sense of mourning someone who is still physically present, like a death before dying.
That phrase, frozen grief, I think she uses that. It just resonates. It captures that feeling perfectly. The person is there, but the relationship you knew is gone. And society doesn't always make space for that kind of grief, does it?
Not at all. It's often invisible. And this loss triggers a huge internal shift, which she calls the role reversal. She talks very openly about the challenge of her husband, who was always her protector, the one in charge, becoming the person she now has to manage and care for. And this forced her, someone she says is naturally a worrier who likes control, to step into this massive leadership role right when everything felt out of control.
Yeah, that forced shift. I imagine so many people who've cared for a declining partner or parent would recognize that exact feeling.
Definitely. And finally, another really powerful theme is the blended family model she portrays. The book consistently highlights the incredible support system from Bruce's ex-wife, Demi Moore, and his adult daughters, Rumer, Scout, and Tallulah. They're all in it together.
That united front is pretty remarkable, isn't it?
It really is. It's presented as this aspirational example of how families, even complex blended ones, can come together in a crisis. It's built on shared history, clearly, and a lot of love.
We've really just skimmed the surface here. The Unexpected Journey seems packed with practical advice, emotional honesty, just real resilience. It sounds like an essential read, a real roadmap for anyone even remotely connected to caregiving, or honestly, anyone just looking for perspective on life's challenges.
Absolutely. And it leaves you thinking, grappling with some big questions that apply way beyond just this one story. Like, first, Emma Heming Willis insists self-care is survival for caregivers. Okay, but in that relentless 24/7 reality of caregiving, where is the line? How do you draw the line between absolutely necessary self-preservation and potentially feeling like you're neglecting your duty to someone who's suffering?
That's the tightrope, isn't it? A line that probably shifts every single day. And there's another big one, especially because this involves public figures. By sharing their stories so openly, Emma has become a huge advocate, raising awareness for FTD, which is so needed. But does someone like Bruce Willis lose his right to privacy in his most vulnerable state, even if it's for a good cause? Who gets to make that call? When does a private struggle become public property?
Really tough questions. No easy answers there. But important things to think about, that balance between advocacy, awareness, and personal dignity.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. As we said, the book is just out, and it's absolutely worth reading for all the details and the full picture. We've only touched on a few key points here. If you do want to get a copy, remember there's an Amazon affiliate link right there in the description.
And please share your own thoughts or maybe moments from the book that stood out to you in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And really, your support, liking this, sharing it, subscribing, using that link, it genuinely helps us keep creating these detailed explorations for you.
Always remember, knowledge is most valuable when you understand it and can actually apply it. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.